Good afternoon and welcome to the Vivit What's New in Network Management Center 10.0. This session is brought to you by HP. My name is Wendy Wheeler. I'm the Vivit Network Management SIG champion, and I will be hosting today's session. Our speakers today are Marta Akre, Balaji Vectraman, and Tyler Peterson. They will be talking to you. They are from HP and are experts in the network management space. A little housekeeping items. This is a live session and is being recorded. You'll be able to also watch the recording after the session and will be available to all Vivit members. We also have a session for Q&A at the end, so please type your questions in the question pane at the side of your control panel. The webinar control panel, you can see you toggle the view windows between the full screen and the window modes on the side, and you can answer and put in questions in the question area below. And now I'm going to turn it over to Marta to start off the session.
Hello, this is Marta Akre. I am from our marketing team, and we're going to present to you today what's new in Network Management Center 10.0. As you know, we released the product versions in the beginning, or I should say the end of July. But before we talk about the product today, let's introduce our team. We have online Balaji Venkatraman, Tyler Peterson, and also to help us in the audience are Brian and Kaplan and Joe Reeves, our product management team. And as you, my director is Joe Fox, and as you see, I'm in product and technical marketing, and we are being hosted by Wendy. So what are our agendas today? First, we're going to discuss the challenges we see customers facing. Then Balaji will talk about industry trends. We're going to turn it over to Tyler to talk about what's actually new in this release and discuss new product structure. And then we'll close with a call to action. So let's begin with challenges faced. So as you can see, these are just little tidbits in this infographic about networks rapidly expand in size. The projection is not as exponential as it once was, but it's still extremely high. And so this is something that each of our customers have to deal with. And the complexity they deal with every day is just kind of mind-numbing. Here are a few just word items for you to ponder, but things such as understanding the performance, understanding what NFV brings to the party, how do you implement software-defined networks, what kind of communication strategy should we have, do we have the right tools to do fault isolation, and so on. There's just so many things that bring pressure to bear in the environment. So our network management staff, you, our customers, tend to be caught in the middle between the IT executive's needs, the user's needs, and all this complexity. And so we find that many organizations, professionals at all levels, still find themselves scrambling to manage their networks effectively. So the reason they're doing this is because they want to hold to the bottom line and make sure that customers and users have the right level of availability and performance. So with that in mind, we're going to do a quick little survey here. And I will ask the survey team to pop up a survey question in your control panel. And would you take a few moments to answer this quick question? What is your top network challenge? Please select one. Is it A, understanding the network impact on business apps? B, the growth in devices, technologies, and services that drive automation in your environment? C, subtle performance issues and hard to diagnose root cause? D, multiple vendor point tools, human error, and increasing MTTR? And E, compliance and security requirements.
And Marta, the votes are coming in.
Okay.
And they're still coming in. Give it about 5 more seconds here. They're just pouring in. I can't stop it. It's exciting. Okay. I'll share the results here.
All right. Wendy, would you like to share the results?
Can everyone see the results?
There's 33% understanding the network impact on business apps, 17% growth in devices, technologies, and service drive automation, 25% subtle performance issues, hard to diagnose root cause, 16% multiple vendor point tools, human error, increasing MTTR, and 9% went with compliance and security requirements.
All right. Thank you very much. Good information. So next, we'll turn it to Balaji, and he'll talk about networking industry trends that he's finding.
Thank you, Marta. So after a relatively stable network infrastructure environment, we are seeing nothing short of a revolution in the networking industry, in the infrastructure industry. And that is primarily driven by three trends: cloud networking, network virtualization, and SDN. And so let's understand what this really means and what it means to deliver this network as a service. Every IT organization, whether you are a service provider or an enterprise IT organization, the network operations team is in the business of providing a service to either internal or external customers. And so virtualization, cloud, SDN are all interrelated aspects of delivering network as a service, and the converged infrastructure that we are seeing enables us to deliver this network as a service. And so let's start with the infrastructure. We see virtualization as a key driver in the network transformation. It's right now transforming the service provider infrastructure, but we see large enterprises also adopting and migrating to a virtualized network infrastructure. And we see that to be a pervasive trend across the entire industry. And so with virtual appliances, virtual switches, virtual overlay networks, and virtual functions like load balancers and firewalls, we are able to now instantiate a virtual fabric and be able to do orchestration, dynamic resource provisioning, service isolation, and service overlay. And so this virtual fabric enables us to deliver services in a more efficient manner. Now, if you lay SDN or software-defined networks on top of it as another key trend, the business outcome for an enterprise or a service provider to adopting SDN is the ability to flex network capacity and network infrastructure using software. And this directly leads to service agility, the ability to turn up, turn down services very quickly, provision services quickly. And that in turn leads to cost reduction on the one side and better customer satisfaction on the other. So SDN gives the network operator the ability to program the network function and orchestrate not only the infrastructure on a device-by-device basis, but network services across the entire fabric. And so now, if you have a virtualized infrastructure and the ability to program this infrastructure using software, you're able to deliver services and provision network capacity as and when it is needed by the application and where it is needed by the application. And then the cloud enables a more flexible delivery model both for the provider and a flexible consumption model for the customer. So these three trends converge and enable the network organization, the IT organization, to deliver network as a service. Next slide, please. And so we see this evolution on not only how the infrastructure is being deployed and how the network services are being deployed, but also the evolution of the network management products and the capability to help the network operator manage and efficiently deliver services. So on the top of that arc, you see that the network infrastructure is evolving from physical appliances, and that is where we are today, to virtual appliances. And then from there, we are also seeing pockets of virtualized network functions. Again, as I said earlier, primarily driven by service providers, but also being adopted by enterprises. And to keep up with that transformation in the network infrastructure, the network management tools need to evolve. And so today, for example, the network management tools revolves primarily around the discovery and mapping of discrete devices, which are relatively stable, both in terms of their connectivity and the services that they deliver. But as we go to a virtualized infrastructure and shift to virtual images, we really have to not only look at managing the virtual devices and the services that they provide in the interconnect, but also the ability to orchestrate, to bring up and bring down network functions as and when they are needed to deliver an effective and efficient services across your entire network fabric. And that is the focus of today's webinar. Tyler will cover topics and innovation and capabilities that we have added in the 10.0 release to help our customers move from a pure physical environment to a hybrid physical and virtual environment, not only manage your physical infrastructure, but also seamlessly manage and map the virtual network elements on the underlying physical infrastructure. But we also see the next step in the evolution, which is the fully virtualized and distributed provisioning of your network fabric. And so now you have this complex environment where you have forwarding policies that are instrumented in the appliances themselves, but also when you use SDN, you're able to impose policy across the entire fabric, whether it be load balancing or firewall or access control. You're able to impose policies on your entire fabric to be able to control this flow of traffic end to end. And that then clearly requires the network management solutions to evolve to map these services across your entire fabric, look at the traffic that is flowing end to end, and ensure that we're able to deliver adequate quality of service. Next slide, please. Marta.
Now's the time for another very quick survey, which is which elements are present in your environment. So we're just asking right now about your infrastructure. Virtual appliances, physical appliances, and virtualized network functions. Select all that apply.
And the votes are coming in, Marta.
Okay.
Give it another 20 seconds or so here. Okay, I'm going to close the poll and show the results. Great.
Thank you for that.
Oh. All right, I'll go back to your presentation. Yep.
Thank you.
Gabalaji, back to you.
Thanks. Thank you. And so the most recent poll indicated that 95% of our customers' infrastructure still has physical devices. And so how does HP help our customers manage their infrastructure in a more efficient manner? So HP's network management solution is automated network management, which brings together two industry-leading products, Network Node Manager, that is focused on fault and performance management, and network automation that is focused on change, configuration, and compliance management. Together helps not only manage the customer's existing physical infrastructure, but as they migrate to a virtualized infrastructure, as they migrate to virtual edge, and then virtual network functions, we are building capabilities into these two products to help manage that converged infrastructure. So the A&M solution, an integrated set of solutions, best of breed, and give you the ability to manage both the physical and the virtual infrastructure. And it is not just fault and performance, but as we move from a physical infrastructure to a virtualized infrastructure, as we overlay SDN and software controls on top of it, the configuration and compliance management of this network infrastructure, the virtual infrastructure, becomes even more critical. And so to help you cope with this explosive growth and increasing complexity of your network infrastructure, the network automation product provides change and configuration management and helps you do auto remediation of any performance issues or any violation of policy. So these two products combined help you automate your network management function. And before I go off to the next slide, I'm going to go back and say, talk about what we mean by saying we deliver VIP network services. VIP stands for validate, isolate, and predict. And in the case of validate, what we do, what the products, what NMMI and NA does today is to view, discover and view an up-to-date topology of your network, to monitor the fault and performance characteristics of your service delivery and the transport and the traffic, to be able to receive fault and change notification, and generate audit reports for compliance management. In terms of isolation, we provide fault and performance management root cause analysis so that the time to identify and resolve problems reduces. This was one of the big challenges for our customers in the first survey question that we asked. So clearly, anything that we can do to help identify the root cause of problems helps customers. And not only that, but automatically remediate any non-compliant configuration. And then finally, you take the information, take the historical information, analyze it, correlate it, not only generate meaningful reports and KPIs and KQIs, but also forecast network availability, do capacity management with it, calculate the impact of an incident on the delivery of network services, and be able to evaluate the compliance risk. So these two products not only provide fundamental capability to manage the physical and virtual infrastructure, but also deliver efficient services and become VIP, network delivery capability. Next slide, please. And so in a couple quick points on the automated network management product and what some features that we wanted to highlight in terms of scale. It's a highly scalable solution. We scale from the smallest networks to some of the largest enterprises, Fortune 10, Fortune 15 enterprises worldwide, highly scalable, distributed, federated architecture. Compelling features to help our customers manage and deliver VIP services, network as a service, in terms of root cause analysis, topology management, and automation. It's a heterogeneous solution in the sense supports multi-tenants, 150 plus vendors, and their devices supported. And integration with several OSS products, not only just HP, but other vendors. We believe that network management is not a single point solution. We need up and out integration with other infrastructure management products. And all this to drive the reduction in mean time to resolution, reduce outage, and at the same time comply with standards. Next slide, please. And a question, Marta.
Okay, and here's our final survey. What is your current network management solution? Please select all that apply. NMMI with iSpies version 9.x or earlier. Please note this is due for obsolescence, so you will want to make sure that you have plans to upgrade early. Item number 2, NMMI with iSpies version 9.2 or later. C, network automation version 9.1x or earlier, again also pending obsolescence. Network automation version 9.2 or later. Or currently you may have other HP software, but you're not using HP software network management tools.
Okay, the votes are pouring in here. About 10 more seconds. Okay, I'm going to share the results. Okay. I'll go back to the slides here.
All right. So with that, we've concluded the surveys today, and we will turn it over to Tyler Peterson to talk about what's new in 10.0.
Great. Thank you, Marta. And looking back at the prior the survey question we just asked, I'm very happy to see so many folks that are on the line that are on the latest releases, and very excited today to talk about what we're introducing, or what we have introduced in Network Management Center 10.0. So next slide, please. Okay, so when we think about the continuum of the evolution of network infrastructure, network management solutions, Balaji talked earlier about the infrastructure evolution and the tools evolution. And so what we were looking to do here is, and it's of course across time, what we've got here in terms of what we're introducing in Network Node Manager and Network Automation 10.0 is a point in time. And so what we think about is from a roadmap perspective, when we speak to our customers, we listen to analysts, we evaluate competitive signals, and we've taken that information and we've boiled it down really into 5 key themes that we've chosen to invest in, chosen to build out in this version of the product, and of course we'll continue to build out as we move forward in the future. So at a high level, again, we've got 5 themes that we're looking at. I'll touch on them briefly here, and then we'll go into more detail in the following slides. So first of all, from a network virtualization perspective, we're pleased to introduce capabilities around stackable virtual switch support, chassis management. As I mentioned, we listen closely to our customers. We've got a set of enhancements and improvements and capabilities and benefits that are all focused on things that our customers have asked us to look at directly. We're also focusing on application-aware network management. Obviously, as we all know, running across the network are a very specific set of applications, and so we want to understand what's the impact of network outages on the performance of these applications. We're also looking at, and we've touched on this briefly, is the rollout of cloud capabilities of software-defined networking management. So we've introduced some capabilities there. And then finally, we're always thinking about how do we improve overall the total cost of ownership of our solution. How do we make sure that things are more automated, more efficient going forward, and then improve security of the product as well. So those are the 5 key themes. Let's go ahead and jump to the next slide. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about, and we mentioned this briefly earlier, is the improvements that we see in the user interface. And a lot of these improvements that we've added are really to reduce mean time to repair. I want to make sure the information, we have so much information available within our products, and we want to make sure that that information is exposed to administrators, exposed to operators, so the folks are using the tool set in as easy as way as possible so that the right information is available at the right time. So a couple of things we've introduced in NMMI. To begin with, we'll talk about the dashboard workspace. So this is a new concept, new capability within NMMI. Really can provide a lot of information about the overall health of the network and the status of the network. There's several different types of information we're providing, different panel types, including tables, map views. You see a few of these on the screen here, pie charts and chart views. And these can all be changed dynamically. So you can look at, for example, for a chart view, looking at line, bar, area, scatter plots, etc. There's also variable scoping for these dashboards. So you can look at the network overview to see just the overall health and status of the network. And you can go down to specific objects. So you're looking at groupings of node groups, nodes, and even down to the interface level. And then in this UI, we've now forwarded in contents from the performance or metrics spy, quality assurance, and the traffic spy as well. So all of these have additional content which is showing up in the dashboards. So that's the first piece, is the dashboard workspace. Next thing we'll think about is we've had a lot of requests for enhancements of the map interface itself. And so we've introduced some capabilities here. We now have added panning and zooming capability. There's an overview panel that allows you to move around the map. You can select and move multiple nodes on the map at once. A lot of customers have asked for that capability. And now you have the ability to search in the map by the find icon, and now you will zoom directly to the result and show the nodes, the specific nodes you searched for, as well as the nodes that are around that area. You also have the ability to add map annotations. So for a particular node group map, you can add text to the background, you can change the background of the map. All this can be customized and saved and then visualized later. And there's also improvements around accessibility we've added. So you now can navigate the menus through using the mnemonics. So type, for example, Alt F to find a variety of ways of navigating the maps. And then finally, not only do you have the mnemonics, but we also have keyboard navigation of the table views. So you can, instead of use the mouse to move through your table and scrolling, you can now use a keyboard to interact with it as well. From network automation perspective, we've got a set of functions we've added, UI capabilities. So for example, select all, be able to dynamically size text and script boxes. We also have introduced in NA a search capability, basic search, so searching from IP address range, look for the most recent diagnostics that were run, and also the ability to retain usernames on change to section after, for example, a user's deleted, you still can retain the username there. So that's a quick overview on the user interface improvements. Let's jump to the next, which is network virtualization capabilities. Okay, and so when we're thinking about network virtualization, this is a step for us towards the evolution of the network infrastructure. We're looking at physical and virtual appliances. We now have introduced a capability within NMMI. Basically, we've taken out the concept, out the physical representation of an element from the node from the logical representation. So you've got, for example, in this class, you've got switch stacks. So, if you think about stackables or stack switches, you can associate a node with multiple physical chassis and show the inter-switch connectivity between these various different chassis. There's also, if you think about it, the ability to support multiple nodes on a single physical chassis. So an example is the virtual device context, so such as Cisco virtual device context or Nexus switches. So you may have multiple logical devices which are sharing the same hardware. And so we have the ability to look at those chassis, and we're also looking at the components of those chassis, and the components of nodes and components of the chassis themselves. So we're looking at be able to track CPU, memory, buffers, and disk separately from the physical sensors for a card or a chassis. So around looking at the fan, the state of the power supply, what's the temperature of the chassis, voltage, and backplane. We've also added capabilities, and a lot of customers have asked for this as well, around NIC teaming, link aggregation. So NMMI now can discover and store information about server interface aggregations. And we also have the ability to show on a map both the link and split link aggregation. So those are now displayed on a map with thick lines with an ellipse over top of them. And so let's go to the next slide. We'll show an example of some of the concepts I've talked about here. And so you can see here just a quick view of a map which got a couple of different things on it. One is on the left-hand side, you've got an expanded view of Cisco Nexus, which has both the chassis, and then also showing the inter-switch links, and then the relationship, the L2 relationship to the external environment as well. And so you've got, and there's a little icon there, a plus minus icon on the top left, so it shows a minus. That means this is expanded, as you can tell. Down below that and to the right, you can see there's another node which is currently collapsed. And so you can hit the plus and expand and see everything that's within that as well. And then you can see the circles, the ellipse around each of these, indicating that these are aggregated links. Okay, and let's jump to the next slide.
Sorry, you have to change cursor.
Okay. Yeah, so this is one environment, one test environment we have with Cisco Nexus. The other thing I want to show on the next slide here is the another vendor, Juniper, with QFabric. So we're also able to visualize QFabric environments and show not only the overall aggregated node, but also the chassis and elements within a particular node as well. So two different visualizations here. We've showed Cisco Nexus. We have HPN support as well, HP networking support, and Juniper QFabric. Okay, so let's jump to the next slide. Another key capability we're introducing in this release for NMMI is the ability to basically schedule an outage. So you may understand that there's times when you want to move a set of nodes or a node, a specific node, in and out of service. And so you have a planned outage. It's possible that you may know that you have an outage which is coming up over the next weekend. So you want to be able to schedule this outage and say in advance that I know time's going to pass, I know that these nodes are going to move out of service. Please don't tell me when they do move out of service if we no longer can reach them. And so you can change the management of the node from out of service to a period specified. And then as time passes, they'll be moved out of service and moved back into service at the end of the outage. So there's a list of scheduled node outages you can get to, and you can set a outage for a particular node. You also have a command line access to this, and it's a common theme across a lot of the product is the ability to access a lot of capabilities through command line or through APIs as well. You also may encounter situations that you may not always know that an outage is coming up. You may actually go through a time where an outage has occurred, and then you want to look back in time and say that those nodes that went down, those in fact were scheduled to go out. So you can record an outage in the past and indicate that this outage was in fact planned, although you didn't necessarily mark it as such in advance. You can go back and schedule a service window that was that had already passed and make sure that those nodes are marked as intentionally out of service. Yeah, so let's jump to the next slide. And one of the things I mentioned at the outset is from a total cost of ownership perspective, we do want to make sure that we're always improving the product, always looking to lower total cost of ownership and increase visibility across the environment. And so we've added capabilities and added capacity in this version of the product. So Network Node Manager, prior release, was able to scale to 25,000 nodes. We're now in this release are able to scale 20% higher to 30,000 nodes and also manage and monitor 60,000 interfaces. We've also introduced a capability around custom polar. Custom polar now supports a capability called bulk collection. And so it's a new custom polar capability. So you're able to pull all instances of a configured mib variable for all nodes that match a given custom polar policy. Prior to this, we had you had to discover individual instances of a custom poll. Now you're able to say for this node, for these sets of nodes, pull everything, pull the entire table. And then we've also improved capabilities in custom polar in general. For example, you can pull multiple MIB variables using one particular custom polar collection, and you can also select these MIB variables using the MIB tree browser. And then you can also take the information you've collected here. You can now export both string data types and integer data types out to our network performance server, network NPS. And then one of the things that custom polar data feeds into now is what we're calling cross-domain extension pack reporting. So for a particular report that you've got created within NPS, you can pull information from custom polar, you can pull it in from traffic and QA spy as well. So you can pull all this information in one set of reports. And as you can see, some other capabilities of that is for NA server, we also increased to 25,000 nodes per particular server, and the extra large tier now goes all the way up to 100,000 nodes. So we've increased capabilities for the traffic spy as well. Let's jump to the next slide. And so one of the strengths of the Network Management Center product set and also the HP software in general is the integrations that we have between the products. And so we've continued with that theme and continue to add capabilities in our integrations, one of which is indeed the integration between the two core products in Network Management Center, so between NMMI and NA. And so really, if we scaled this out and grown in the distributed environment, we can both take NMMI, the Global Network Management, GNM capability, and then NA's horizontal scalability capability and integrate those fully. So this integration is now supported both in a GNM capability, a GNM setup, as well as a horizontal scalability setup. So all the features that are initiated from the NMMI side, and then all the features on the NA side as well, are now are supported in this integration environment for both horizontal scale and for regional global network management. Another thing to think about here and to talk about is that within NA and within the analysis panes, we've had, as you can see here, we've had the capability to show the node configuration summary and the history of node configuration within analysis panes for NMMI. We're also adding an additional analysis pane, which is the policy compliance. And so we're able to see at a glance at the context of a particular node, whether or not a particular node is in compliance with a given policy, if it is or if it's not, and then you can launch directly to NA to learn more about the policy and learn more about the particular policy that's not in compliance. And then also we have improved the integration between BSM and between NMMI BSM and NMMI and UCMDB. So before this release, there were separate integration mechanisms for BSM and UCMDB. We've now combined those two capabilities and have introduced an integration module, the BSM UCMDB integration module. And so this supports topology synchronization with both of these in a consistent manner. And so there's just a moment. So that's basically integration between VSM, UCMDB. We now have also added some functional improvements to the integration as well. And so things that we've added for the VSM side is now we are able to synchronize VLANs between NMMI and VSM topology. And we've also supported the impact analysis action for those. So it's now supported with the topology integration. And then from the UCMGB functional side, we now are supporting enhanced filtering of objects that come into topology synchronization, as well as, and something a lot of customers have asked for, the prior integration with UCMGB was through a pull model, so it's a periodic pull. We now are supporting a push model where it's a dynamic mechanism where as changes occur within NMMI, we're able to push those changes immediately to UCMGB. Okay, and then also from a CLI perspective from NA, there's several improvements that we've created within the several improvements we've added within NA. So it's a lot of enhancements to the CLI, and we've expanded a lot of capabilities for NA there. And something that I want to touch on here is not on the slide here directly, but it's also we've improved capabilities around the ability to audit user actions. So that any changes that a user makes which result in changes to the NMMI database, whether it's the UI or CLI, and other user actions such as a config poll, we can now tell who it is, who made the change and what was the change that was made. So there's now a new audit capability within NMMI. Okay, so that are the key things that we want to touch on from an overall. Here's the things we've introduced for NMMI and NA in version 10.0. I do want to now change gears a little bit and talk about some simplifications we made across the network management product structure. So let's jump to the next slide. Okay. And so a lot of folks that are on the phone may be familiar with this, but I want to make sure we touch on it and describe really a lot of the changes we've got there. We've talked about the new product structure, the new product version, which is version 10.0. We also want to talk about the new product structure, which is really a couple of things we want to touch on. One is we've introduced some new product conditions, which I will describe, and also we've simplified the product structure and gotten to a much simpler understanding of the metrics that are required to basically to consume NMI and NA. So first thing I want to talk about from a product simplification perspective and a product structure perspective is for NMI and NA, we now have, for NA, we've got two editions, two products. One is the Premium Edition, we'll talk about that in a little bit, and Ultimate as well. So it's really Premium and Ultimate for network automation. NMMI has the same Premium and Ultimate, and we also have the NMMI Community Edition. From a metrics perspective, we now are looking at, rather than, I think folks are familiar with iSpy points. Points had a tendency to be a bit confusing, a little bit hard to understand. We now have gone to a full cost per node model, and there is no more need to worry about the points that are consumed for a particular iSpy. And we're also eliminating non-production licenses as well. And so it's really simplifying the product structure. Really, we're trying to focus on what's the node, what the node that's being managed, and then how are you managing it, where are you managing it. The architecture you choose doesn't matter as much as the fact that you are managing or monitoring a given node. Let's jump to the next slide and talk specifically about Network Node Manager. So in the old product structure, you think about it, NMMI is really a fault and availability product. And we had the NMMI left-hand side, it's called standard here, everyone knows it as NMMI. And we have NMMI Advanced. NMMI Advanced introduces some advanced capabilities, such as IPv6 monitoring and global network management capabilities. Let's jump forward a sec. And so part of this, there we go. And so now we're introducing new product additions. So you may be thinking, well, what if the fault is great, what about performance monitoring and advanced services monitoring? So the NMMI Premium product we've introduced is a combination of fault and performance monitoring and management solution. So it's got not only NMMI, but also includes network performance. So performance for metrics and performance for quality assurance. And the developer toolkit is also folded into the NMMI Premium Edition. And so the next product we want to talk about is the Ultimate product, NMMI Ultimate. It includes all the capabilities from NMMI Standard, Advanced, NMMI Premium. It also includes capabilities around management of traffic flows, application traffic, orchestration capabilities that we've introduced with the iSpy Net Network Engineering Toolkit, orchestration and runbook automation. And then the other capabilities here we're adding in Ultimate are IP telephony management, IP multicast, and POS, so our advanced services. So these are the capabilities, this is our products, that we're introducing NMMI Premium and Ultimate, and there's a migration path we have from NMMI standard to advanced, and then migration also from advanced to premium, and then capability move from premium to ultimate as well. So that is, at a high level, is an overview of the product structure for Network Node Manager. Let's jump to the next slide. And we'll talk about network automation. So network automation, really what we've done here is the HPNA product, the prior product, had policy compliance, got configuration automation, config change detection, all these capabilities. We've folded all of those capabilities into the NA Network Automation Ultimate product. So the difference and the distinction between NA Ultimate, which is where the customers who have the current HPNA, they will move an optional migration to the NA Ultimate product. We've introduced a new product, which is for, if you think about the maturity curve for the config and compliance, customers who's looking for configuration, backup, configuration management, and then compliance and policy compliance. The premium product is really focused around automation of configuration and then change detection for a configuration environment. And so the ultimate product does include policy compliance as well. Premium does not. That, at a high level, is an overview. And I'll touch also briefly on the horizontal scalability, multi-master satellites. Both of those are included in both the NA Premium product as well as NA Ultimate. So that, at a high level, is a new product structure we've introduced for NMMI, Premium and Ultimate, and also Community Edition, and Network Automation for Premium and Ultimate. And I'll turn it over to Marta to wrap us up.
Hi, Marta. I wonder if you're muted.
Oh, you
you are.
bet I am. You bet I am.
There you are. Wonderful.
All right. So
you.
everyone, I was going to town here. All right. Well, as you saw in the previous slide, we have a call to action. We want to thank you so much for the time you spent, but we don't want to just end this relationship. We would like you to learn more. We have been undergoing within HP software and HP in general a revamp of our website. So you'll find us under the Business Service Management pillar. We'll have the network management tools, and it's a nice fancy new graphic page. And we also have sub-pages up for NNM and NA. But the things that you'll find there are customer success stories. We're revamping videos. We're going to be adding and updating white papers. Data sheets will be there, and we're going to continue our 60-day free trial for 250 nodes for all our software. And as Tyler mentioned before, we do have a community edition of NMMI, and we also have other freewares and utilities that were contributed that are available for download under our trials button. So that's one way to get to know us a little better. Another way to get to know us is to stay connected. We thank you all for participating here in Vivit. Vivit especially has a number of channels such as Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and community chats within Google. We have some of the same capabilities, but one of the things we're really trying to work on right now is increased interest in the Network Management Practitioners Forum. So this is a forum that occurs every 2 weeks. We hold a call. It's hosted by myself and other members of this presentation team. We'll be kind of tag teaming on it. And we're going to start hosting on a regular basis topics of discussion. So we'll have presentations either from the product team, like R&D, or from customers about things that they've learned, as well as just general Q&A of, how do I solve this problem? Does anybody run across this? So it's a good way to share information. So it's also, as you can see, one of the most active forums right now. We get a lot of participation and do a lot of posting. So the next slide then gives you the links to all these wonderful places for your reference. And I think that concludes our portion, so I'll turn it over now to Wendy to manage our question and answer session.
Thank you, Marta. The first question is going to be for Brian Kaplan. Can you tell a bit more about the HP&A CLI enhancements?
Yeah, thanks, Wendy. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Yes, we did several enhancements, primarily customer-driven requests, actually, to make sure primarily that the CLI and the API of NA matches much closer to the UI of NA, and we were doing, I think, a pretty decent job there, but there were some legacy features that lagged and some administrative features like user management and device group management and so forth. And in fact, these are all documented on the support portal in the web page under the manual section that describes the CLI. We specifically highlight which commands were either newly introduced in version 10 or enhanced in version 10, and we did a little bit of both in that release.
Great, thank you, Brian. Next question is going to be for Tyler. How does 10.0 handle DR and test installation of the new NMMI from licensing standpoint?
Great, thank you, Wendy. I think the way to think about this is there are two different aspects here, right? One is that we've got a new version of the product, which is NMMI version 10.0, and we have a new product structure, which is you've got the old product structure and you have NMMI Premium and Ultimate. So it's possible for customers to have the old product structure but still be and now be on the new version of the product. So there is no change if you're on the old product structure from a DR, a disaster recovery, or testing perspective. If you're on the new version of the product structure, so NMMI Premium or Ultimate, both NMMI Premium and Ultimate, same for NA as well, are what we call Class 1 products. And so Class 1 products, customers are entitled to a set of non-production licenses for every production set of licenses that they own. So if you have further questions about this, you certainly can reach out to HP Sales, and they can reach out to us to discuss this. But that's really the key, is that it's the new product structure, NMMI Premium and Ultimate, that is Class 1. And you are able to obtain non-production licenses through our non-production request process versus the old product structure, which does have for sale non-production licenses.
Great, thank you, Tyler. Tyler, I have another question for you. Is it possible to get information from a device using direct OID access? I mean, device is not supported, but with knowing OID.
That's a good question. And so we've had customers ask for this capability in the past. So we don't have this capability directly in the product today. What we do have is a strong device support capability where when you have a device that's not currently supported, you can submit requests for device support through both the NMMI and NA through our standard support process, and we can add support for devices, even at device profile level. It's that simple. We can add support for devices quite easily. So no, but yes, we can address this through adding device support.
Great. Tyler, another question for you. Is the performance threshold configuration, does 10.0 allow to set up multiple thresholds and assign different severity levels for them? For instance, generating warning alerts if utilization reaches 90% and major if utilizations reach 90%.
Yeah, that's a great question as well. And what I'd like to say is that we've had a lot of customers ask for this capability from a multiple threshold perspective, and we can support this through custom polling today. We, out of the box for standard performance metrics, we do have on our roadmap to address this and add this capability. Of course, all roadmap discussions are subject to change without notice, and we have things that we need to consider and weigh against other priorities. But that's something that a lot of customers have asked for, and we are currently looking to address in a future version of the product.
Great. Tyler, one more question for you. What is the upgrade path? Can we upgrade 9.2 NMMI and 9.2 iSPI's servers directly to 10.x?
That's a great question as well, and that's something we're very happy to support, is if you're on the latest version of NMMI, so if you upgrade to the latest version, the latest patch number, we do support a direct in-place install and migration from 9.2 for NMMI and for the iSPIs to 10.0.
Great, and now I have a question for Brian Kaplan. Can you talk more about the runbook automation added to NMMI? Is this related to OO, additional hooks into NA, or other?
Right. So runbook automation added to NMMI, I think that's in relation to what we call our net buy. It's another smart plugin to NMMI. It runs an embedded form of OO with some canned diagnostics out of the box. If you also purchase operations orchestration, then the customer, such as yourselves, can all create new flows to use with that NetSpy. And the benefit there is that the NetSpy integrates directly to the NMMI interface, such that with incidents that you want to configure, when those incidents occur, they can automatically trigger those diagnostic flows to run within OO. That said, obviously, with operations orchestration purchase, you could certainly integrate and call and have flows that call into NA or other, other HP or even non-HP products as well.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Next question is for Tyler. Will the Cisco Fabric path be supported by NMMI and NA?
That's a great question. So I'm not sure that for the Cisco path that I understand specifically what the question is there. Maybe it's something we can follow up with. If we can get the question to ask afterwards, I think we will follow up on that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next question is going to be for Brian. Does NPS support HA?
I think that's probably more appropriate. Joe, are you there to answer?
I think we'll move on to it.
Joe Reed, are you there?
Okay, let's move on to the next question. We can come back to that one. How easy is it to migrate from NMMI 9.2x to NMMI 10.0? Balaji, can you take that one, please?
Sure. Thank you, Wendy. Yes, indeed, there is an in-place upgrade path from 9.2 to 10.0. And during the development of 10.0, we had 20-plus beta partners that helped us ensure that that upgrade path works smoothly. And since the 10.0 release, we've had several large and small customers go through that migration, and so easily and successfully. We also have a LinkedIn practitioner group, and if you go there, there is a thread around migrating from 9.2 to 10.0, and there are some positive comments from customers that have done that, gone through that process, and reported success. Thank you.
Thank you. Tyler, the next question is for you. Can you say something about VM LAN and hypervisor like VMs and Hyper-V?
Right. So I think the question is around probably around the management by NMMI and NA of hypervisor environments, so hypervisor Jess, et cetera. So we have strong support in NA today for managing hypervisors and vSwitches as well. We are looking to address in a future version of this roadmap again. On our roadmap is clearly support of VMware, Hyper-V, these sorts of virtualized server and network virtualization capabilities.
Great, thank you. Next question also is for you, Tyler. If I have NMMI Advanced, what is the replacement premium, question mark?
Okay, that's a great question. I think that it really hinges on what else a customer may have in their environment. So if you have NMMI Advanced specifically and you don't have any of the iSPIs, then the one-to-one replacement is, and a migration path is to NMMI Premium. And so it's when you have, for example, advanced services spies in your environment or iSpy Net or traffic, those would then go to NMMI Ultimate. But the base NMMI Advanced itself, the migration is to NMMI Premium.
Thank you. Next question also is for you, Tyler. Will the chassis management include discovery servers within HP enclosures?
And yes, of course, that's one of the things we look at carefully when we're looking at support for HP equipment as well as for other vendors as well, is discovery of weight enclosures. The nodes and the servers that are running within the enclosure, and where it's possible to be able to establish the L2 connectivity. If the devices support this, be able to understand the relationship between the enclosures and the servers and L2 connectivity to them as well.
Great. Tyler, another question for you. Will I still need a non-production license when running an NMI in an application failover, or do I need another sort of license?
Okay, and again, and this goes back to really is the, I guess, the distinction between NMMI, the old product structure for NMMI standard and advanced, where you do need a non-production license for application failover or HA, or for the new product structure where you will have NMMI Premium and Ultimate. And for, as I mentioned, this is NMMI Premium and Ultimate are both Class 1 products. And so you'll need a non-production license, but you'll request that through the non-production license request process. And so it's not, those licenses do not cost extra. They're just available as requested, given it that you have a production license.
Great, thank you. Tyler, another question for you. What about upgrading an NMI/SPI and NA from 9.2 to 10.0? Must they all be upgraded at the same time?
That's a great question, and indeed they do need to be upgraded at the same time. We support interoperability, support integration between NMMI 10 and NA 10. There's so many capabilities we've added from an integration perspective that to support backwards compatibility with these just would be an infeasible problem. So we've introduced a lot of additional capabilities. We talked about the horizontal scale compared to GNM. A lot of these capabilities, a lot of these functionality just doesn't make sense to support backwards. So no, they do need to go forward simultaneously to the 10.0 version.
Great, thank you, Tyler. Tyler, another question for you. Can the scheduled outage apply to node groups as well as individual nodes?
Oh, that's a great question. Absolutely, you can apply to node groups as well as nodes. And what I think the key, though, is that you're looking at when you establish a scheduled node outage, you're saying this particular node group, NMMI at this point in time, is probably something to consider for the future. At this point in time, you look at what are the nodes in the node group, and those are the nodes that are scheduled. And so it's really the membership of the nodes in the node group. That membership at the time you schedule it is what's evaluated.
Great, thank you. Next question is for Balaji. Will NMMI be offered as SaaS?
That's a good question too. We are indeed exploring the options to see how we can offer an NMMI in a SaaS environment. Indeed, we are running a pilot where the SaaS team is internally using an NMMI to manage the infrastructure, but we still are figuring out the business details of how we will offer the management capability as SaaS. So it's something that we are working on. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe, this question is for you. Will 10.0 be fully integrated with HP Helion?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. The nature of the Helion integration right now is something that we're still exploring. So we've got some preliminary work going on right now with the Helion team through the CSA product, and some of the preliminary exploration is around provisioning network services through network automation. So we are closely aligned with the Helion team. We're working with them. Stay tuned for some future discussion about the features that we'll implement with Helion Connect.
Great, thank you. Tyler, the next question is for you. With integration with BSM, can we schedule an outage from BSM?
So that's a great question, and the outage can be scheduled within BSM, but the understanding of where the outage is, that will stay within BSM. It would not reach directly into NMMI and schedule an outage within NMMI. So there is support for the CLI. There are ways to set this up, but it's not a native supported outage capability.
Great, Balaji. The next question is for you. Is there a mobile app for NMMI?
Yes, there is a mobile app. It's a prototype with some capability to look at alerts and manage events. We have not released that widely. It's still under test and development, but it is work in progress, and we expect to have this capability in the near future.
Great. Tyler, the next question is for you. Can you customize, make your own dashboard workspace in NMMI?
That's a great question. And we're happy to introduce this capability, the dashboard, with this simplified navigation paradigm. And this first release, we focused on how to gather the relevant information, how to make sure it's available in the right context. And so, we talked about the nodes, interfaces, overall view. Our future roadmap, which is, of course, as I talked about, this is subject to change without notice, is we'll build additional dashboard content and add the capability in a future release to customize the dashboard content, compose new elements, for example, and then also you would think about capabilities such as import, export, dashboard definitions, content, such. So that's something we're considering for a future release.
Great, thank you. I think we're going to close down the questions. Marta, next slide. Just wanted to remind everyone that you don't want to miss the Vivit Mobility Virtual Summit that's coming up on October 8th. And also we have HP Discover in Barcelona, December 2nd through the 4th. Next slide. Basic news from HP Software. Visit the HP IP expert community for forum blogs and upcoming events and to register for the monthly newsletter. I highly recommend everybody do this. It's a great community. Also participate in the upcoming online expert days as well. I just want to thank everybody for joining our session today. Please complete the short survey and opt in for more information from HP. Next slide. I think that completes our session for today. Thank you again, and I hope to see you all on future Vivit sessions.